Celtics post-game show.
Wah, wah. No
It's a
longer
loss.
undefeated, Bobby.
It's a loss, and it's a night John determined ahead of time he wouldn't be here for, but I bet he's regretting it.
Oh, totally. He's punching air right now.
A rough overtime loss warranted of some John negativity. And is it panic time?
We'll find out. We'll get to the panic portion of the show. I think it's fair to wonder if time to panic.
So I watched most of this game, Jimmy, seeing the runs go against them, seeing them not playing their best, and just shrugged a little bit. It's a tough team, middle of a road trip, and the Celtics got into some weird foul trouble. The officiating was a little off in this one, I felt like, too. That got to them a little bit.
Well, don't make excuses.
But I'm not making excuses.
Was dealing with Minnesota's two key guys were dealing with foul trouble, too.
Right. The end of the game, and we can start in overtime, was brutal.
Start from the back.
3 back-to-back wasted possessions just led right into Edwards' jump shots. He was incredible, completely stole this game from Jason Tatum, who was great in the first half and kind of faded after halftime. Lost the ball to him, lost the jump ball to him.
Tatum had a strong fourth, I thought.
Yeah, overall, though, not what you're looking for out of the MVP leading candidate. I mean, he ends this one 12 of 22, 2 of 8 from 3. 6 turnovers.
So the turnovers were one thing. The overtime execution or lack thereof sucked from all sides. And obviously, once again, late in the fourth quarter, that one kind of slipped by them. But on offense, I won't cut you off, Bobby. Finish.
No, I just was taking a look at his stat sheet. Not what you're looking for out of him.
No, I mean, I thought Tatum did what he could in that fourth quarter when they've been going with like Tatum in the bench unit. He was doing what he could to Celtics client. Listen, this was a loss, but this wasn't a loss due to like lack of effort. I didn't feel like from the Celtics side of things. Minnesota played their asses off tonight, and this is probably their biggest win, like with that core. I would say, this is
ever.
This is like maybe. I mean, this is a statement win for this team. I mean, I think a win like this kind of puts them on the map a little bit. At least puts the NBA on notice.
Not their play-in. Remember their play-in win where who is it? Beverly jumped on the scorer's table.
Yeah, all right, that one counts. But this is one of the types. This is the type of win that you get early on in the season that gives you the type of confidence.
They destroyed the Nuggets too earlier this week or last week.
Right. So there you go. The two NBA favorites right there that you took down. So this is a team not to be messed with. They play super hard on defense. They're considered one of the best defensive teams in the league right now, defensive efficiency, and they've got guys like Anthony Edwards, who is a superstar. What's up, Josue? Speaking of superstars.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I got you. You're my guy, dude. I got you. But
the
thing that was frustrating with this Celtics loss, it wasn't effort, but it was falling back into bad habits that we've seen last year. And what I mean by that is the ISO ball, the hero ball that we saw in the overtime, really. Late in the fourth quarter.
It started late in the fourth too. Yeah.
They stopped moving the ball around. Porzingis went almost non-existent, and it was like Tatum's turn and then Brown's turn.
Scal was screaming about the Porzingis stuff, wasn't he? Like get him involved.
I was screaming about that. I was screaming about the extra passes, but then Jalen did the opposite, right? He finds Drew down low for the layup. I said, "Oh, that's perfect."
That was a nice pass.
And then Tatum had a big play. Jalen came up with a defensive stop. So it was unfortunate, but I don't know. There was some of that hero ball for sure, but I don't know.
In overtime, it felt like.
In the overtime, yeah, that's true. In the fourth quarter.
Let's face it, a lot of the team's success so far, and I know they've done some great things in the post. They've shot well. They've gotten different guys to contribute. But a lot of their success offensively so far has come in isolation, one-on-one, winning those battles, Tatum especially. And with all the shooting success, similar to last year, and I know it's not the same story, I did wonder what would happen when the shooting came back down to earth a little bit. And you see it tonight, 28% from 3. Some of the individual efforts offensively faded. And there were some other factors in there too, but they rank in the bottom 10 of total passes so far, Jimmy. And it's something to watch. There were a few stats I was looking at going into this game. They haven't forced many turnovers. They're last in that. They did that tonight, but coming into tonight, they were last in that. The isolation has been a big part of their success so far. And as we've talked about, the bench scoring really isn't there with this team right now. And you're missing Brissett in this game. You get a little bit from Hauser, and that was pretty much it from the second unit.
That was it. And that's the unfortunate reality, I think, of the bench unit with the Celtics team. And you're going to get the occasional production from Pritchard and, Cornette every blue moon.
Cornette
Bobby.
was solid tonight.
He was.
Get to him later.
You don't have to do that every game, Bobby, but okay.
Solid to stretch, but he played. Cornette played. He wasn't, horrible. But the point is the bench, you can't count on the bench. And that's just a reality of the situation with this season. And Celtics made their bed when they made the trades that they made and the moves that they made in the offseason. So that's just what it is right now. They were without Derek White tonight too.
Right.
So your bench is really thin now,
Yeah.
right? Because you really can't afford one or two guys missing in most of these games.
When
Especially
did Pritchard make a shot
Minnesota.
last? It's getting to be a long run for him without making a shot.
The drought is real for sure.
FanDuel is the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Let's start with your thoughts, Josue. What stood out most to you about this one?
I just thought the fourth quarter when they started to smarten up, I felt like they had the Timberwolves on the ropes, and I just felt like it came down to the late game execution. I wasn't crazy about the Hauser play at the end, especially, but it shouldn't even have gone down to that if you ask me. I don't know. It's that tough balance of, do you call a timeout in that situation, or do you want to catch the opposing team on their heels? And I thought it might have been a better chance. You would have bettered your chances if you call that timeout, especially because of the way things were leading up to that. Yeah, you got that run and you sort of made that mini comeback with those two big stops at the end of the fourth quarter. But I thought that was a really good opportunity for the Celtics to regroup. But going into overtime, I wasn't thinking, they're going to lose this for sure. I mean, you got to get out to a better start. And it kind of reminded me of the way they came out of halftime, right? And that was a big pattern of last year's team as well, right? Sometimes you didn't quite know what team was going to come out of halftime, and then all of a sudden they found themselves on the wrong end of 8-2 run or whatever. And I felt like that was obviously the case in overtime for the Timberwolves, where Anthony Edwards just started cooking and took advantage.
It's a good point. They went into halftime rough, and then they came out of it pretty poor. So those end and beginning
third time this
quarters,
season that's happened where they come out of halftime like that, and that was a big habit of last year's team.
Yeah, because they were great to start the second quarter. I think they went up by as many as 8, and then Edwards gets going a little bit there, and some turnovers, and you basically going into halftime up 3, and then they come out of it with the Rudy alley-oop, Edwards that and one dunk. And Gobert kind of had his way with Porzingis in this one, which is probably what surprised me most. Finishing through him, overpowering him inside, on the glass, giving him some real problems. I thought Rudy was really good in this game. We're going to talk a lot about Edwards, obviously, closing the game and making big shots. But Rudy, especially with Naz Reid, who was incredible in this game, I thought, off the bench once Towns got into foul trouble. Those guys really put some pressure on Boston's interior, and you ended up with really rough nights for Porzingis. And Al Horford, who was so good in Brooklyn, I thought struggled immensely in this one. And the tough play late, catching that ball, they had a 2-for-1, and he just kind of fell out of bounds.
That's really uncharacteristic of him, though. But that didn't help. Obviously, didn't help the case. But
he finishes this one 1 of 5 with 3 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, but a couple turnovers and 4 fouls trying to defend inside. A ton of foul calls in this game. Disjointed pace. The lineups were weird. The rotations were weird early on. I mean, you saw Mihailuk in the game.
You got an early
You saw
call.
Lamar Stevens get one stint, and then he was out of there. O'Shea Brissett didn't play in this one either. So Joe was looking for stuff.
It was a strange Joe game.
He was looking for stuff, and he really couldn't find it throw. You had a problem with him tonight, though, Jimmy, didn't you?
I mean, well, the one thing everyone's talking about, and I had some people text me about, is he didn't call a timeout at the end of the fourth quarter. I was actually okay with that. Me too. Okay, so we agree there. I did think, and the reason why I'm fine with that is because you're playing one of the best defensive teams in the league. Why allow them to set up? Why allow them to get the substitutions they want?
And Jalen got a good look. He did.
He got a great look. He should have hit that shot. I mean, if you go back and watch that shot, he had put on a great move, and he had a wide open 3 at the 3-point line. It wasn't like a 35-footer or anything. He was right at the 3-point line, and he had a clear look, and it rimmed out. And so if that shot goes down, everyone's praising Joe for not calling a timeout for the same reasons we just mentioned.
Right.
So I'm not really upset about that. But I thought in overtime he could have done a little bit more to maybe quell things.
So
a little
where
bit
did he
when
call the
minutes are running
timeout
a
in
bit.
overtime? That was the one I had a problem with, and I think a lot of people did because it came way too late. 114, 109.
It was after the 7-0 run.
After a 7-0
They never
run.
scored. They didn't even. That was your final score.
They didn't cut off Edwards' run at all, and Edwards actually got another good look.
No, there was
getting
2
3
plays.
straight
Yeah,
shots.
it was a 9-2 run, right? And then he called it.
Yeah, because you had a couple free
Yeah,
throws in there.
How do you not call it after the 7-0 run?
He let Edwards get all the MVP chance in the building going before he even called
the place was rocking, and then
it was rocking. And
you know what? I have a problem too,
and
this has kind of been a little bit of a trend. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you come out of timeout down 5, and Hauser just kind of threw the ball away.
What was that?
Just a non-factor play, and then to throw it back to that Horford play we mentioned at the end of the 4th, you come out of timeout setting up a 2-for-1. And Tatum's all frazzled, overthrows him a little bit, and Horford fumbles the ball, and it just turns into a turnover. And on this night where you actually force 24 turnovers, you pretty much match them with 18. So they were out of control. And Joe, he always talks about having a free-flowing offense and letting these guys kind of structure themselves. But the one time you want to see him having them look put together, if that's going to be your approach, are out of timeouts. And those 2 timeouts didn't set up anything.